the tool itself. I won't go into necessarily building a report unless you guys want me to. And I'll just talk briefly about what we're doing for other people, other clients right now, and how people are using this tool. First off, it sounds like you guys are Salesforce users. Is that correct? Is a lot of the data that you're going to be using Salesforce driven?
Not that the data will be Salesforce driven, but it'll be how we relay it to our users.
Okay. So I'll just start right there if that's okay. If you guys can see here, I've got what we have as a demo. It's a Salesforce Force account here. And what we've done is just to highlight how we can actually embed the application into the frames inside of this. What we can do is pass the authentication back and forth. I'm just showing you, one of the views of how this thing works. It could be really anything on what reports show up or which ones you start with. I'll just open up the report that I was going to show you a second ago. And so with this, we can build this frame out, and so where people can actually get their data here, they can build reports that are specific to them. We can even pass authentication so we can tell who they are. And this, where BusinessObjects lives, potentially could be on-premise, it could be on the cloud, it could be located in lots of different spots. And we can navigate towards this information in different ways, one of which is I'm just showing you how it looks completely embedded in the application. But we're free to do other things like just have a navigation list as well. So we could have specific reports here listed, and then when I just launch a custom one, it'll go out and launch that, or I could come out and just have the portal itself there too. So we have lots of people doing interesting things with this, where we pass authentication in, and here's their application, whether they start on a specific report or graph or chart or dashboard. It's very flexible to do that. One of the nice things too about doing Salesforce is that we can piggyback off of, like I said, the security. So we try and get you guys to just maintain security in one spot, and it's a little piece of code that'll run that'll sync everything up, and people really think they are like this application is embedded in Salesforce. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so it works well. Hopefully, I don't know if there was any questions around that, but this is just kind of an example of how we bring BusinessObjects, the platform, into the Salesforce component here.
Okay, so to restate what you just said is that based upon the username and password of the Salesforce user, what data that user would have access to drill down to could be managed?
Yes, absolutely. So we can manage. What we do is the same in the way that we authenticate at BusinessObjects level, right? It's almost as if they're logging in directly here. And so when we're in the BusinessObjects world, we can force in what they can or cannot see, what reports they can or cannot use, what dashboards they can or cannot see. And then we can even take a step further, is that we can enforce row-level security as well based on the login through the platform, through the application in the universe. So you may have one report that lots of people look at, but depending on who they are is what data they'll get back based on security.
Okay.
So it's really like a matrix of different things. Can they or can they see a universe? Can they or can they not see this folder? Can they or can they not use this report? And then if they run that report or use that report, what data do they get back based on their security rights? So really all we're doing is doing a handshake between Salesforce and then the BusinessObjects platform, and then we're just leveraging all the native security inside of BusinessObjects. But the end user really doesn't know. I mean, yeah, I'm showing you the whole portal here, but we could fool people into thinking that this is just part of Salesforce itself, right? This is the reporting tool embedded in Salesforce.
Yeah.
And we have lots of people. We have different makeups of how that works, right? Some of it is Salesforce-centric. There are other customers out there where, like, we're doing commission reporting, so they can go out and see their commissions or their quotas or targets in Salesforce, but all that data is not in Salesforce. It's literally on-premise, right? And we're just serving up these pages inside these frames here. And so since we can create custom navigation and custom menus inside of Salesforce, so you guys can too, you're free to redo these pages and have it do whatever you want, show whatever you want inside of Salesforce. And overlaying or bringing up the BusinessObjects components as well. So these are like the native Salesforce kind of reports, but we can come in and side by side put in our own things with them. Does that make sense? It's pretty powerful.
Yep.
Okay. So then I'll take you now to another level just inside the application itself. This is the view of it here, but then I'm just going to log in directly into the application. I'm going to make my screen full screen so you can see a little bit better. But this is what the application looks like and generally what we'll see people using. I'm going to highlight some of the features of this. A lot of what we do now is really a blend between reports, because reports are reports, right? I mean, it's just X and Y. You got a lot of data. It looks kind of like Excel and those types of things. So lots of tools out there can do that. What we really do is try and mix and merge data and turn data into information. So we can organize content in lots of different ways. This is one of the ways where we can do it with tabs, so that we have different layers, levels to the data. I'm just showing you some like demographic data here as example data, where we can slice and dice this data as well. Maybe we want to slice it by females or by males. We can redo the whole pages based on those types of things. We can also come in and do cascade. So I'll show you how this works as well. So we want to make a lot of this. I think I just threw it here. Let me reopen my report real quick. I'm going to reopen that same report. Is that we can make these reports much more navigable, have different click-through, have different drill paths, ways to slice and dice on the report. So we're trying to make these reports highly graphical and usable, and so that what people can get used to coming to one spot and getting a lot of information that they need in one place. So like I was showing you here before, we can slice these whole reports up by a given metric or metric. So if we want to slice down one dimension, we want to slice by males or females or anything of that nature, we can do that. We can also drill down and around in the side of these things. So in this one report, you can see I get my hoverovers for this. I have all of this information. I can download it to Excel. I can also click on another view of this. And I can cascade. So as you'll see, if I highlight one of these, I'm going to actually start changing all of the data throughout this report. So I can come in here and say, well, let's just focus on the single people. I'll re-render that data here. And then I can come back in, let's just change, and then change it to a different one. So maybe I wanted to focus in on a specific age. We can say, yeah, let's focus in on this group of people right here. You'll notice that I will change this information down here. And then from here, I can change what I'm going to actually graph. So I can change, then drill in again, and re-render a graph. So I can do lots of cascades through the data, through the information back and forth, get some highly visual types of things within these reports themselves. We can also use this to act as a navigation page so that we use it to link to other components. So you might have a report out there that's just financial based. Let me get this off the full screen so you guys can see this, because it's actually going to pop open a new window here. So when this pops open a new window, I can drill into, hey, we're having some weird issues today. When I open up a report, I can drill into one specific report here. And this is what would be an example of a financial type report. You guys are probably used to this. But something that would hit the printer, maybe like an income statement or something like that as well. We can navigate inside of these reports to pretty much anything. So if I wanted to use those, I could actually go to fire off a completely new report. I could fire off something inside of my tabs here. I could bring up a dashboard. I could bring up all sorts of good things inside of this. So not only is it a report, we can make it look more like an application page. Like this one's going to fire off, and it's going to bring me up a prompt and say, well, what city do you want to focus on? I could come in and choose a specific city. Let's say we wanted to use this one. And then I can run that. It'll go out to the database, retrieve that, and I get the information associated to that one city there. We can also do a lot of dashboards with this. And what you guys would probably think traditionally of a dashboard, it's something to this. Let me grab one, and I have several examples I was showing you before. But these are what the dashboards look like, highly summarized, graphical. We tend to see these as navigation paths as well, but we can embed maps. We can make these very interactive, things like this. I'll just click through a couple examples here so you guys get a feel for these. This is another one we have developed. And you'll see we have radio buttons, right? We have the hover overs on side of everything. We can drag and drop certain ones and re-render the whole report there. We can focus in on specific areas. And each one of these quadrants can act independent of the other. Just some other examples. We'll just click through real quick. So we can draw a line through all of this stuff, and all of these are just different presentation layers that are available, and these can take on any form that you like. So we tend to break up reporting into several areas. So we got the highly visualized, or what's something that would be like a dashboard, what I'm showing you now. Then something that would be more ad hoc or slice and dice kind of things, which I was showing you before. We also have another application inside of this that we can do that type of slice and dice with. And then we can make the financial reports that I showed you before as well. And we can do things like this, where we can merge all sorts of content, graphs, links to other things. We can have alerts based on our numbers going up or down, what kind of charts mixed in with those as well. And we can make reports visually like this, and brand them, and those types of things. One of the other pieces with inside of this is we can do slicing and dicing. Oh, sorry. We can slice and dice based on specific information spaces. So this tool provides the user a real guided analysis at just a graphical level that they can come in, open up a specific area, and just kind of mine the data where they don't necessarily have a specific question in mind. This works well with trending type data or something that you have lots of time series and lots of slices to the components. It's going to load up in a different panel here. And we can expose this piece as well through mobile or via a web page. You can even hang this off of Salesforce as well, where they have different links into it. So it's going to load up a little Java panel here, and then we'll be able to kind of slice and dice our information. Well, that's interesting. I don't know what happened to some of my stuff. We're having a little bit of bizarreness happening lately. Let me see if I can get directly to my Christmas sales for this. We had something kind of weird. We've moved offices and our internet connections, and we moved our server. So I'm getting a little bit of bizarre behavior out of this a little bit. But here's an example of what an Explorer model looks like. So inside of this, we can slice and dice this information. Let me make this a little bit bigger so we get some more real estate here. So as you can see, I've got my graphical information here. And so I can move around in this data. I could drill in. I could say, well, let's just focus in on this area right here, and we'll re-render my data. I can also use a drag and drop feature like this, and then say, let's zoom in on those specific years. You'll see that adds it here. Then I could do a percentage on those as well. I could do a trend on that. And see, I could then come in and choose multiple lines, say. Let's add this one, this one, this one, and this one. There we go. And then I can slice all of this by a different category or line or state. So let's say maybe I wanted to do this by state. I could also bring in multiple measures, is what we call them, so different calculations or KPIs. We could do those and overlay them, do a comparison of each one. So you can see the differences here. Take ones on or off. So this is just another way that we can visualize this data through the tool. And since it's all the same universe, the same metadata layer, bringing all of this together, it's all the same calculations. So we manage the calculations. We manage how we build these things in one spot. And then regardless of the front-end tool, how we're visualizing that information, it all comes from the same location. So it centralizes where we manage it, how we develop that calculation, and then how we visualize it's really up to you. We want to offer lots of different tools that the users can use, or if there's specific situations that somebody needs to use it for, they can do that as well. Now, did you guys want me to show you how a report's actually built as well?
Sure.
Okay. So what we do is this is all based on the web. It's a web component as well. I'll show you how we make some of these reports. We come into an application, and first thing it's going to do is just say, hey, does Chris have the ability to create reports? Because not all of your users are report authors, right? You'll have a majority of your user base will be report consumers, and they might be able to modify that report or change the filters or prompts on it. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to say I want to build a new report. It's going to ask me my data source, which is the universe for us. Now, depending on who I am, I could have lots of different universes out there. Most organizations have several. Maybe it's source system specific. Maybe it's based on a department or a function inside of the company. And then once I choose a universe, it's going to come out. It's reading that metadata layer, and it's going to present me with essentially a wizard that I have all the available objects to me. So what we do is we don't want to talk about tables and columns and rows and joins and those types of things. We want to just talk about business terms. So we want somebody to come in and say, I need a report that has a month in it. I want to see it with the state in it as well. Maybe I want to see a specific product category, and then I want to just see sales revenue and how much I sold. And then I hit this button, and I don't really know or care where that is. I don't care if it's SQL Server or Oracle or what the applications are or how this information is derived. But what this is doing behind the scenes is it's going to run a query out there, and it might be using 4 or 5 or 6 different tables to aggregate that data together. But as a simple user, I come in, I hit my button, I go out to my database, and then I'm going to retrieve a set of data, and then I have the ability to work with that data. Once I create this, I can modify it, push and pull it, filter it, add visualizations like charts and graphs to it as well. I can take things on or off of the report, and then I can potentially publish it so other people can consume it. I could save it down to my desktop as Excel or PDF. I could email it out to other users, or I could actually set it up to schedule itself and reprocess every day, week, month, whatever that may be. Now, the nice thing is this tool is very aggregate aware. So let me show you something. As I drag and drop specific items off this report, the tool is going to consolidate the data in memory. And so I'm not rerunning against the database. This is all happening on the server itself. But so before I was looking at a month and a state and a category level. When I drag those objects off, it's going to consolidate down to something to like the month level automatically. And then I can replace certain things inside of this as well. So I can say, nah, let me look at it by state. So I can drag and drop this over, and then it will re-render my report just by state as well. It's all controlled through that universe on how things consolidate. Let me get this a little bigger so we can see the numbers. And then inside of this, too, I have pre-built functions and calculations that people can do, and analysis is what we call them. So on this column here, I could pre-add a sum to it. I could also come in and say, you know what, I really want to add a graph here. So let's come in, and I'm going to add a column graph. And we'll put this guy right over here. The network is running really slow today. There we go. Maybe it's with the WebEx too. There we go. So I can come in and say, let's assign some data to this, just like you guys do in Excel. I can say I want my x-axis to be my month, and maybe I want to use quantity sold. Hit OK. And then they could come in and render this graph, something like that. Now, depending if I have hierarchies pre-built into the universe, they could use those types of things as well. But now I have essentially built a report from a set of data, not very experienced user, just choosing business terms, those types of things. And then I could come out and actually, again, save that out to the, save it out for other people to consume, or I could also bring that down to my desktop, save it as an Excel document, a PDF, or a CSV as well. One thing that is interesting I was showing you before, that we can create multiple tabs on these reports. We call them reports, but anybody that's used to Excel would just call them a tab. They actually come down as tabs as well in Excel. So if I had one that had lots of different tabs on top on it, I could come in and create this type of report. And when I download it, they would actually come down as Excel tabs as well. So people can twist and turn this data, because what we see happening out there is that people have to eventually bring data into Excel for a specific reason, right? That they want to look at it a certain way, or they want to do something to it. What we're trying to do is give them the option to be able to push and pull and create those variables on the server itself. So let me show you too what a common reporting thing is, what we call a crosstab, where somebody would come in and they want to look at this on an X and Y axis. But as a casual user, I can right-click and say, let's just turn this into a crosstab here. So on the server, we'll re-render this, and then now we have a crosstab type report. I think probably you guys are used to looking at data a lot like this. And then inside of this, too, I can add my calculations as well. The tool will allow me that. So it'll say, do you want one at the end of every row or column? And I can say, let's just do it in both directions here. And then I get my totals across and down. And you can see, too, that I can mix and match the content inside of this. I can also use this application to link to other places. So to run a report as a designer inside of this, I could read in certain columns as hyperlinks and have those linked to something else. So I could kind of navigate through like I was showing you guys before. We can also, inside of this, have what we call a filter bar. And I showed you examples earlier of this. But we can add several of our dimensions up here. And then I can slice this whole report by those. So I can say, well, let's just look at this one specific product line. How does that look? So you can see that I have all my data now by state, and by that product line, and by month. I could come back in and say, well, no, let's just do it for all categories, but I just want to do it for a specific month. Obviously, my graph will get smaller just because I have 1 month. But then I can slice this data up by month. Breaks, formats, all of those kinds of things are all available too. So anybody that's used to the off products would be very familiar with this. How we can right justify, left justify, turn the backgrounds, different colors, the cells, all that type of stuff is available here. You can just see as I hover over these that they can modify the format of all of that at their leisure as well. So once it's designed, now I have this report that I can publish out and other people could come in and use. You'll see that this is what it looks like as a casual user, not a designer. And then they can also slice and dice this information. Every time I'm doing this, it's not going back to the database. It's just doing it at this session level, so it's very quick. And it doesn't modify the integrity of that original base. So if I save this report out there for other people to use, and I save it in a certain way, no matter how they modify this, it's more at a session level. So they're not really modifying the integrity of that report as I publish it.
Okay, Chris, so report 1 is now a combination of a chart and a graph, right?
Correct.
Can you take this out to Salesforce right now and show us what that looks like?
Yeah. Now, granted, I'm showing you in a frame that has everything there, but this is what it would look like. When you really implement this, we strip out the top. You know, no one wants to see all this stuff on the top, right? You just want to see your document. So we're going through and doing this. Actually, what I've been showing you, too, is on an Amazon cloud. So we've got, you're kind of talking cloud to cloud here between all of these reports. I'm logged in as administrator, so I have a default view where I have all these options that pop open. But I'll show you quick what it looks like. Something like that.
Okay, cool.
Yep. And then notice too, that functionality that I was doing with the slice and dice is all available there as well. So it'll slice up right there on Salesforce or Force, whichever one you're using there. Any questions? I know we wanted it to be 30 minutes, so I've got like 3 minutes left. No questions?
I think we're good from our side.
Okay.
You guys have anything?
Sean, did you have anything?
No, I'm good. That was great, Chris. Thank you. So, Jared and Katie, was this more of what you're looking to see?
Yeah, just so I can take back to the first part of it was the key piece for us.
Good.
That the Salesforce and the user interface.
Yep. I'm sure you probably have one or two people there that are who help administer your Salesforce or your Force system, and they'll probably have a lot of technical questions. So we're happy to set up another call with Chris and his team, with your team, to answer all that.
Great. We really appreciate all the help.
Not a problem. We will can this and we'll send it out to you so you have it and you can disseminate it, and I'll follow up at another steps from there.
Okay, sounds good.
Great. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris.
No problem,
Thanks,
guys. Take care.